What's up, YouTube fam? Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to discuss credit spreads and debit spreads. It's something that people have talked about for a long time. A lot of people in the option selling community discuss it. People have said I should be doing it. Ultimately, it's something that a lot of people who sell options like to do to limit their risk while still gaining exposure as an option seller or an option buyer, right? So there is benefits to it, and we're going to cover that in this video. Obviously, people have said I should have done it on a position like RGTI because then I would have just lost, maybe $100 instead of been down multiple thousands of dollars. So I'm going to use TQQQ as the example ticker to discuss this. Now, I do want to say already the immediate con of credit spreads and debit spreads is there's no getting assigned, right? So there's no wheel, there's no wheel strategy. You're either losing the trade or winning the trade, which is part of what deters me from it, because I am trying to sell options to limit my decision making and ultimately, collect premium while either getting assigned shares, or if I sell calls, then I'm just closing a trade for a profit. So it keeps things very simple, but obviously when it comes to high risk stocks like an RGTI or a ConL, then yes, a credit spread or debit spread could be very smart to limit your exposure. Now, I understand why it gets very confusing, right? Because if you're bullish, there's two options, and if you're bearish, there's two options. Now, when it comes to the call credit spread or debit spread versus the put, what I want you to think is basically if you're bullish, right, it's because you're buying the calls, right? In this case, like the call debit spread, it's because you're buying a call that has a higher premium than the call you're selling. And if you're bearish, right, it's because you're buying a put that has a higher premium. Because think about it, when you buy a call, right, you want the market to go up. When you sell a call, you kind of want it to go down because you'd rather just collect the premium and not get assigned and not lose the shares. So if we go and look at this example, basically the easiest way to put it, let's say we pick this one, right? You're buying the 77.50 call. That's going to be for 240, and then you're selling for 216, and you collect the difference as long as it goes up. So obviously, if you just bought the 77.50 call, then there would be no limit on how much you could make. Now, you could still only lose $240, but since you're on the flip side selling the 78 call, there is a limit how much you can make, which is 26, but you can only lose 24. So the good part, right, is you're never going to have to risk if it dumps being down all that amount for shares. If you were to just buy a call, you would be down 240. So you're basically limiting your gain and you're limiting your risk while having the opportunity to bet on which way the market's going to go. So the real thing to take away is the reason why you're bullish is because the call that you're buying is a higher premium, right, than the call that you're selling. So if we go backwards, right, the call credit spread, it's basically the exact opposite. So in this case, you are selling a call that is a higher premium than the call you are buying. So that's why you want to think about it like this, right? What do you want to expire worthless? You want the call that you sold to be worthless, right? Now, that's why it's a call credit spread, and that's why you'd rather it go down, because ultimately, as long as this one expires worthless, you will collect some sort of profit. That's why if you notice, everything that's profit is below 77. Obviously, above 77, you still gain a little bit just because you also bought this call. But what you really want is both of these to expire worthless. So now when we go to put debit spreads, right, it's the same concept. Basically, so you want it to go down because the put that you're buying is worth more than the put you're selling. So think about it. When you sell a put, you want the market to go up because you want that put to be worthless. In this case, you want it to go down because the put that you're buying is a higher premium. So you're always collecting the difference. And that's really all a spread is. It's just basically buying and selling at the same time. So you just need to think to yourself, whichever one is a higher premium is the one that I want to have worth, and whichever one that I'm selling, right, whichever one is the lower premium is the one that I don't really care about, and that's just basically just a hedge. So the last one is the put credit spread. So again, very simple. The put that you sell is going to have a higher premium than the put that you would be buying. So in this case, right, that's why you want it to go up. Just because this one that you sold is worth 283, this one that you bought is worth 259, you'll collect the difference as long as they both expire worthless. Obviously, if they both dump, then you only lose the difference, which is why it's a hedge and ultimately allows you to not have to worry about losing so much, and at the same time, you're never going to win so much. So Overall, my thoughts on it is I do think it could be a good strategy because you could definitely win a large amount of your trades. But the reason why I don't like it is because, if I'm going to be trying to predict the market, I'd rather just be, I'd almost rather just be going naked and just going a little deeper in the money or at the money with a stop loss at that point. Just because, to me, I think credit spreads and debit spreads could lead to you losing a lot of trades, getting frustrated, and ultimately not getting anywhere. That's the con. Obviously, there's plenty of pros, and I'm sure, there's plenty of people who make money with credit spreads and debit spreads. But the reason why I think you ultimately don't hear about it is because I think it requires skill to be successful in the long run. Selling options, majority of it really does just come down to which stock you pick. And obviously you're seeing that with me here, right? Like the reason why I'm down so much over the last, couple weeks is because of the poor choice of stocks that I chose to sell options on. When it comes to credit spreads and debit spreads, it requires more, right? It requires basically knowing where the market's going to go. And I think ultimately the people who have the skills of being able to trade at that level just aren't going to settle for a debit spread or credit spread because there's plenty of other ways to trade where you can limit your risk while not limiting your reward. An example would be buying a deep in the money. Let's say you thought the market was going to go up. Instead of doing, a put debit spread, I'd rather buy a call that's, a little deeper in the money. This way it's not as risky, and then maybe make my stop loss 30%, so 80, $90. So yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be the same as winning $20 and losing $20, but the point I'm getting at is the reason why I think debit spreads and credit spreads aren't more popular is because I think the average person will still end up losing a lot of their trades, while the people who are good at trading aren't going to want to limit their risk limit their reward, just to have basically feel like they're winning crumbs, right? So I hope that I was able to give you a better understanding of credit spreads and debit spreads. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you use credit spreads and debit spreads and are successful as an option seller. And I'm happy to reply. I'm happy to ultimately get back to everyone. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next one.